It's the Daily Doug.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with me today. On today's episode, we are going back to a band that is no stranger to the Daily Doug. It's Pink Floyd, and I am pumped to get to one of their later songs. Most of the songs that we've included on the channel have been from their early days. Well, today we get to On the Turning Away by Pink Floyd, and I am happy that you are with me. So this song comes from their 13th album called A Momentary Lapse of Reason, released in 1987. This was a new era for Pink Floyd, as it is the first album that they released after founding member Roger Waters departed the band. It is also the first album to include Richard Wright on the keyboards since The Wall was released in 1979. The album itself received somewhat mixed reviews, but it was a commercial comeback for Pink Floyd as it outperformed their previous album, The Final Cut. On the Turning Away was the second release from the album as a single, and it became a staple of their live shows throughout the latter part of the band's career. It is also described as a protest song, as it's one of the more politically charged tracks that the band released after the departure of Roger Waters. So that makes me quite intrigued to hear it. My friends, we've got David Gilmour on lead vocals and guitars. Richard Wright is on the organ and backing vocals, and they have some extra musicians with them here. John Caron is on synths. Tony Levin plays bass on this track, y'all, and session drummer Jim Keltner provides the drumming. So we've got Darlene Coldenhoven, Carmen Twilley, Phyllis St. James, and Donnie Girard backing up on the vocals, and we're going to be looking at the original studio recording. So let's get to On the Turning Away by Pink Floyd. Off we go. That sounds like a G.
From the pale and downtrodden.
Nice. We don't often get lyrics this early in Pink Floyd songs.
And the words they say which we won't understand. Don't accept that what's happening.
Nice vocals.
It's just a case of other suffering. Oh, you'll find that you're joining in the turning away.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna like this. G major.
Light is changing to shadow.
6.
And casting a shroud over all we have known. Unaware how the rags have grown.
Cool.
Driven on by a heart of stone.
Driven on by a heart of stone. We could find that we're all alone in the dream of the proud. I love this, y'all. Laid back, kind of a ballad.
As the daytime is stirring, where the speechless unite in a silent accord. Using words you will find a strange, mesmerized as they light the flame.
I like the little hitch beat. Ba, da, da, the little syncopation that they do. Down to 6. Put away the acoustic, we get an electric lead. Nice. The organ. That's the 2 chord. 5. Back to 2. 5. Back to E minor. What a great little instrumental section.
No more turning away from the weak and the weary.
The background vocals Sounds like we got a whole choir. No more turning away from the weak and the weary. No more turning away from the coldness inside. No more, y'all. Just all diatonic in G. Down to the minor key. Relative minor. Up to the major 1. Down to 6. Listen to a David Gilmour solo all the time. I don't think I've ever gotten tired of listening to any of his solo playing. Away from halftime, back to right time. To the major 1. 6. It's an interesting progression. It's basic chords, but they're in a little bit of an unorthodox order in which they come. That's all of the words. It's going to solo as we finish out. This inside 1, this track. So that's how side 1 ends. On the turning away. You know, I can see live where they just continue soloing over that. I can see where that's got a lot of potential live in concert, because you start off with this sort of acoustic soft introduction, and then you build and build and build, and then you get to the big solos at the end, and it's just, you know, it's just great. Let me go to some information that David gave about this song. He gave an interview back in 1987 when this came out, and this is an interesting quote from David. He says, "Turning away is about the political situations in the world. We have these rather right-wing conservative governments that don't seem to care about many things other than looking after themselves." Unquote. That's quite a statement. And it's a point of view that I quite frankly share. You know, as I look on the world, the message of the song, it seems to be just a chronicling of the unnecessary suffering of people around the world, and that we shouldn't turn our backs on the suffering of our neighbors. It's a pretty straightforward sentiment, you know, especially when we're in a position that we can help to do something to alleviate someone's hardship or someone's suffering. And at the core of it, I think that David's message is just to check our own apathy and our own selfishness and greed, and actually commit ourselves or seek out ways that we can make change, positive change in the world. Something that is not lost on me, the album itself is called A Momentary Lapse of Reason. As we're now in 2023, and this particular song is 36 years old, I fear that the momentary part of the title might be a little more aspirational than it is based in reality. I mean, in my view, one of the issues of society is that we keep giving political credibility to those that not only choose to turn away and, you know, lend a blind eye to the suffering of the world, but actively demonize the people who are suffering the hardship. That's what bugs me, y'all. And it's a political trend that I fear is poisoning our societies from within. And I hope, against all hope, that we're beginning to rise above the ill effects of these bad players in our politics and reclaim our societal morality. There are loads of issues, 21st century issues to solve, and demonizing the suffering of our most vulnerable neighbors has no place in politics if we are to solve what confronts us and move forward as a more prosperous, a more ethical, a more just society. It's just real, y'all. There's no place for this stuff, especially in our globally, connected world now. We can actively see the suffering of people all around the world, almost in real time, on our handheld little computers called phones. And if you've got empathy that's in you, it makes it very tough to live among the daily headlines that keep coming through, especially the headlines about politicians that are actively doing stuff that has nothing to do with solving these problems, not and even recognizing the problem and accepting that they're real, And this was written in 1987. And it just makes me sad that, happy and sad, because I know that we've made a lot of progress as a society in the intervening, decades, but there's still a lot to do. And in my mind, it's not moving fast enough. But man, Pink Floyd always delivers. And it was really fun to hear Tony Levin playing bass with him. That's pretty fun. I really enjoyed Tony's work. And of course, David, his vocals in this were really, really lovely. He had that high G popping out as he sang. And of course, the guitar solos. That's what we're here for. And they did not disappoint, as usual. I have become a really dedicated fan of Pink Floyd's work, their sounds, and this is no exception. So I look forward to getting to the rest of the album, because as I looked at the track listing, I don't think I know any songs from this album. So their late stuff remains music that I don't know yet from this band. So stay tuned for future episodes. That's all for today, though, folks. Thank you for joining me for On the Turning Away by Pink Floyd. Thanks, friends. We'll see you next time on another edition of The Daily Doug.